There is obviously a very visible slowdown which you see in the economy, but there is underlying demand which we continue to see in certain pockets. For example, if I move from consumption slightly back into investment side, for example, we are seeing significant demand on the warehousing side which is coming up. Significant sectors affected by GST. We are seeing good demand on the transmission side. We are seeing good demand on the renewable side. So these are sectors which are still consuming capital and growing, continuing to grow. Whereas the old brick and mortar sectors have seen slowdown because the demand supply is actually coming back to matching each other. So if you speak to the economy guys, they're saying that the demand supply gap is now meeting, and as the demand then accelerates, then the supplies will start catching up. Whether it is steel, cement, so that should happen. I do believe that with a higher level of moderated inflation, you possibly will see wage growth being higher than what people foresee, and that will accelerate consumption. There is a change in consumption patterns for sure, which you can see. So earlier maybe ownership of vehicle could have been the first priority. Maybe today, because of the advent of shared mobility, it is now moving towards holidaying, and maybe ownership of other electronic goods becomes a bigger priority then, and possibly auto and the house comes next.
Capacity in the country is something which is something standard. You can't just suddenly grow 15-20%. It can grow around 10 to 12% a calibrated manner. And if it is excess growth, then definitely there will be lesser sales. So even in car sales, what I have seen is it is hovering between 250,000 to 300,000 every month. Sales in last 3 years. That means there is a slight movement up and down. So it is only in last 8 months we have seen a steeper negative growth. Maybe as Rakesh said it, maybe the consumption or maybe pattern of purchasing would have changed, or maybe another segment which I see as slower demand is rural. The rural was buying car for the first time, and they were acquiring car aggressively in the last 4 or 5 years. And the rural have reduced, or maybe their consumption has come down. Maybe the income levels in the rural has come down, or maybe there is more migration from rural to urban. So I feel there are several reasons for rural not growing in the buying of the car. The city infrastructure is not able to absorb additional cars. So people are looking at alternative way of mobility. So the demand has to come from the rural. Consumption has to, because if you take FMCG, durable, electronic, all for the people who are buying for the first time or people who would like to change, all would be mostly in the semi-urban and rural. It may not be urban. Urban demand will pick up only with real estate. If the real estate is not picking up in the urban, I don't think the durables or other luxury item sales will pick up. But there is a slight positive trend in the last 1 year. That's I gather that the commercial rent is increasing.
The slowdown can be because of two things. One is cyclical, and one is systemic. And in all our minds, government's mind and our mind, the private sector, any confusion between that will lead to wrong measures. I agree with Nirmal totally here that whatever is cyclical, largely we should let it be. If nothing is,
it'll come back.
Actually, nothing is healthy if it keeps going every year. Things which grow every year for 10 years then get into a problem. So coming down, coming up is not a bad thing. But systemic issues have happened, and I will now come specifically to what would be the systemic issues which are happening in real estate. So the tumor of black money in this sector was removed with repeated operations of demonetizations, GST, RERA, and then their NBFC not having money is the real issue. Because in good projects there are NBFCs which are not funding. So these 4 tumors removed one after the other within a year of each other has really caused the patient to be now maybe cancer free but not able to do anything else. That is according to me a systemic issue. But ability of an individual not to use black money to make these purchases. The investment demand, so-called investment demand in real estate disappeared over time. And when your total demand was investment plus consumption, even if consumption demand is, in fact, last 6 months it has increased a little bit.
Right.
But the investment demand having completely dropped off has turned out to be the death knell in the sector. Now, this is not to say that it is a bad thing that it has dropped.
Sure,
It is,
sure.
This is the new normal. Yes, it is very, very easy to say real estate sector is down, right? But if you go deep, you would see that there is a systemic, demand which has just disappeared. It is going to take time and it will require systemic solutions. And
Right.
one of the most important solutions is making sure that good projects or good developers are completed, which today they are not getting completed.